On June 28, 1914, the Serbian nationalist Gavrilo Princip shot Archduke Franz Ferdinand, the heir to the throne of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, as well as the Archduke's wife, Sophie. Austria-Hungary, as well as many other countries, blamed Serbia for the assassination. Because of Russia's support of Serbia, Austria-Hungary didn't want to declare war until Germany was on their side, which Germany quickly assured. As Serbia was convinced that Austria-Hungary was preparing for war, they readied their armies and soon gathered Russia, Belgium, France, and Great Britain to help them fight against Austria-Hungary and Germany. Though many other countries were fighting, America's President Woodrow Wilson opted to remain neutral, helping both sides of the war. However, Germany began to sink many ships using submarines, including passenger and commercial ships and American ships. In May 1915, Germany sunk a British ocean liner called the Lusitania that was traveling from New York to Liverpool and was carrying many American passengers. There was much protest, and it was one of the main factors that contributed to America's joining World War I. In March of 1918, Germany sunk 4 more American merchant ships, and finally, on April 2nd, Woodrow Wilson declared war.
The United States entered World War I in April 1917, almost 3 years after it had started. The draft size was soon increased, and thousands of soldiers were in each training camp. Then, on March 4th, 1918, a cook in Camp Funston, a camp at Fort Riley in Kansas, reported ill with a flu-like illness. In a period of 3 weeks, about 1,110 soldiers there had come down with the same symptoms. Soldiers unknowingly infected with the deadly disease traveled to other camps and infected civilians along the way. With all the traveling in the military, the flu began to spread across the U.S. and eventually across the world in the next 6 months. Loads of soldiers were deployed to different parts of the world to participate in the war, so the flu traveled easily. The weak, war-stricken countries were in no condition to fight the pandemic, and the Spanish flu gained its name for being particularly deadly in Spain. The disease attacked a fifth of the world's population, and within months killed 50 million people, more than any other disease in recorded history. The flu pandemic ended in the summer of 1919, about 6 months after World War I ended. It had killed 50 million people over the course of about a year. 19 years later, in 1938, scientists were able to get dead influenza virus from frozen bodies in Alaska that had been killed by the virus. An effective flu vaccine had not been developed yet, and scientists were now able to research the virus and try to create a vaccine. Thomas Francis and Jonas Salk had worked with the University of Michigan to finally create a flu shot that could be distributed to the army. They infected fertilized chicken eggs to make more dead virus for the vaccine. The shot was important to make sure that another pandemic wouldn't start. The Army had supported the project because of the loss of troops due to influenza during World War I. However, this vaccine was only for the influenza A virus, as the B virus had not been discovered yet. In 1940, the influenza B virus was discovered by scientists. In 1942, scientists were then able to create a vaccine that prevented both influenza A and influenza B. However, this vaccine was not licensed for civilian use until 1945. In 1944, scientists had discovered cell cultures for virus growth, so they could culture the virus outside of the body for the first time. However, fertilized chicken eggs are still more commonly used today.
Jonas Salk's knowledge of the flu vaccine helped him to create the polio vaccine in the early 1950s. Polio is a disease which targets the nervous system, destroying nerve cells in the spinal cord and causing paralysis and muscle wasting. Many died from the disease before the introduction of the vaccine. The polio vaccine was given to school children in February 1954 to prevent the spreading of polio through the classroom. It was officially licensed for public use in 1955, after which the frequency of polio cases in the U.S. dropped from 18 cases to 2 cases per every 100,000 people. From 1988 to 2013, The polio vaccine prevented 10 million cases of paralysis and 500,000 deaths from polio.